Winter has fallen. Norman is travelling north towards the Storm Mountains. He intends to stop at the little town of Ton-Upon-Henge, famed for its giant-made stone circle. However, as he approaches the town, he sees smoke rising, the buildings flattened and fires still burning. The ground is littered with weapons and scuffles, as if a great army had passed through and warfare had been conducted. Approaching the eponymous henge for which the town is named, he sees a worm-like blue figure writhing in its sleep. Accidentally scattering some pebbles as he steps towards the creature, he makes a noise, and it writhes up, awakening. The head of a Behir arches up, and lightning crackles from its mouth. So, it's Challenge Raiders, Season 4?
Yeah.
Season 4.
We're back, baby.
Yeah, we're back. It's Winter on Storm Mountain. It's a subtitle. Well, you'll see why as we, continue with the season. My name's Theo. I'm illustrator. I'm going to be drawing the Behir, and we'll be talking about it with my co-hosts.
Neil, social media manager. I'm going to be promoting the Behir.
I'm Sam. I'm going to be learning about the Behir.
Nice, Neil. Why don't you start us off with some Behir stuff, and I'll start drawing.
First of all, is obviously what's going to come through is it's a really long, thin creature. That's quite dragon-like, and that's because of its origin. It was made by the giants in a long forgotten war between giants and dragons to kill dragons, and it's made from them. So it's got some dragon-like features, and you can see that more clearly in older edition art.
Yeah, in the old edition art, it really is just a big worm with six legs, but it's just got a dragon head. It's not in any way unique in its design, really. In the older editions, it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but I think that the 5th edition one is the best version of
for sure
art.
It is.
It makes them very unique.
The drawing I will be doing is heavily 5th edition influenced, but that's okay, because 5th edition's got some good art in it.
Yeah, and what the Behir basically brings to the table is quite a hybrid of a few different creatures. It's kind of half of its stats are very much like a dragon's. But then it also has some more unique things mixed in, so it's actually a really interesting kind of challenge rating 10, 11 monster, mid-challenge rating.
One of the thoughts I had when we decided to do the Behir was if for whatever reason you were doing a low dragon campaign, which there's plenty of reasons that you might actually have that, a Behir's a really good... it's the dragon flavour, but without being a dragon. It has its own little things as well.
A substitute dragon.
Yeah, in a way. Although I think they hate dragons. As Neil said, they were made to fight them, and they are racially, instinctively adverse to them, and will be furious.
Yeah, there's a little bit written in the book about how if they make their lair in an area where there's a dragon, they'll be compelled to seek them out and fight them.
Right.
And only if it's a much more powerful dragon will the Behir ever back down.
right. Because they are a made creature. They're not a construct, but they're a monstrosity, aren't they? As opposed to an aberration or even a dragon. Because I could expect this to be, because there's a few things which are dragons from the classification which aren't dragons, like the wyverns and the a few other things, but no, these are distinct monstrosities. In how a hydra is as well, I suppose.
Yeah, these guys are expert climbers, and they live in mountains usually.
Right. Okay.
And I think that's mainly because of the whole flavour of them is that they were created by the giants, but that was long time ago, so a lot of them are just loose,
right?
Kind of running around the world.
I did read up on one of the early editions of the game does mention that they can breed and stuff, so it's not they presumably now are just their own species, but they were originally a created thing. Yeah,
it's not like Hydra, Sam, when we did that, because you did Hydra, didn't you? And wasn't there a thing about how they're just made?
Yeah, they were. It was to do with blood shed from.
Did the blood fall from space and land? Yeah, land in the earth and it sprouts forth a hydra? It's whoa, what? Seriously? It's metal as hell. It's ridiculous.
It was Ava stuff.
Yeah, it really is. It's cool.
Just looking at it as a stat block. We don't get into too much, but what surprises me is even though it's a huge creature, it has really good stealth.
That's pretty cool, actually.
So it's kind of I guess it's kind of geared towards being kind of an ambush creature with the climb speed as well. You could totally have it and also. Because it's suited to a mountain environment, the party could just from a mobility kind of situation really struggle against it because it's so much more dexterous than them. I'm surprised. +7 stealth is really high
for a huge monstrosity. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's cool actually.
I really like in its lore as well. For our scenario we're talking about,
Yes.
where we find it like off of a mountain. It talks about how they don't really like the cold very much. So very much in a scenario where maybe one was a wild one, which this one might not necessarily be.
Yeah.
It could have been just driven out of the mountains by unusually cold temperature.
That could be a fun little thing.
Seeking those warmer climes,
Yeah.
And something that we discovered when we were kind of like reading through it beforehand was that these things can talk as well.
Yeah.
That they actually
not
do
intelligent.
speak Draconic. But there's 7 intelligence. That's
Seven
a
is not nothing, but it's not. Again, it makes them distinct again from dragons, who tend, not all of them, but they do tend to be more intelligent.
It's probably going to talk about its more base feelings. It's not going to be smorging, is what I was trying to get at.
No, it's not going to be like, no. I find it quite interesting that the only language they speak is the language of the thing they were created to kill.
Yes.
Is that the idea of like giants wanted them to like smack talk them as they were fighting them or something?
Probably.
Maybe
Yeah.
so.
Probably. I kind of love that. That's pretty great.
That really amuses me.
It's really strange.
So let's just talk about what it can like do if you do it here.
So it's got that stealth, which is obviously a good thing.
And it's got something else which is like we've talked about animals fighting before quite a bit.
Sure.
About like how they like the T-Rex grabbing someone.
Yeah,
the Behir has multi-attack, but it can bite and constrict.
Right,
In one attack, basically. So it latches out with its mouth, and then with its very long, prehensile body, it could wrap another player up.
Yeah.
So, unlike a lot of creatures in D&D, I feel like this could very much be like shutting one player down, restraining them, attacking another. Like it could take on a party of players.
Or if it really wants, it could just grab a guy, restrict a guy, and then bite for the advantage on the melee.
Oh, yeah. Well, it has a swallow, and it can only do that against somebody it's grappling.
So yeah, this is a fun little thing that's in the description. It says like if it swallows a guy, it's just going to sort of eat them and run off to sleep, which is quite a fun thing because that kind of like how we talked with the T-Rex, it might grab a guy and then run away because that makes sense because it just wants to eat. It's just an animal. So this thing might do a similar thing where it's going to eat a guy and then it's like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to sleep this off.
Go and work it off, yeah.
And then again, it's got that climb speed of 40 and then 50 movement. So it's just going to pace it away, which might be difficult to deal with.
It could do it vertically up a cliff and like
exactly,
what are you going to do?
So that's pretty bad. And it's got another trick, hasn't it?
Lightning breath.
Yeah, from its draconic heritage.
That is mean.
It's got some...
Just reading it now.
Some good damage on a lightning breath attack. Not a huge cone. Pretty small from what I remember. It's like... Isn't it only like a 15-foot cone or something?
It's 20 foot.
20-foot cone. But still not as big as like a dragon breath attack. I don't think.
It's only a line, it's not a cone.
Oh, is there only a line? There you go.
20 foot long, 5 foot wide.
So not as dangerous and... like, the damage is pretty scary. It's like... was it again?
12d10.
12d10, which is big. But it's not as bad as it could be, right?
It could be 12.
It's kind of what some dragons actually do have line breaths, like black dragons do.
Right, yeah. And of course the Dragonborn, if your origin determines if you have a line or a cone as well, so...
Don't actually remember if blue dragons do have a line, because basically the Behir that's in the book is based off of a blue dragon, clearly, like, with the lightning resistance and it having a lightning breath, and blue dragons have lightning breath and lightning resistance, and are blue, and the picture's blue.
So I don't know if they have to be blue dragons.
Say, could that mean you could go go variant if you want to get into that now? I guess.
Yeah, like I've not seen.
You could have a red Behir.
Oh, you could. That'd be awesome.
I can't.
You could have the different like elemental powers and stuff, and maybe you could move over different stuff that makes the other dragons unique.
Sure,
that could be kind of fun.
What would also be cool is because of in the context of like the giants. If you could tailor your Behirs to whatever giant you're using.
Yeah. So you've got like a fire giant with a red Behir.
That could be very cool, yeah.
And I did just look it up. The blue dragon does have a lion breath.
That makes sense. It's a lightning bolt that comes out of its mouth, yeah.
Yeah. I think it comes out of its horn in lore as well.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm now imagining like some kind of like Mega Man boss thing where there's all the different like giants that have their own Behir.
Yeah.
And they'll have their own zone.
That could be fun. But yeah, in terms of what it does though, it has like the melee and the swallow, so it's got quite a few things, more so than a lot of monsters have, and I don't even think dragons have swallow, do they? Not that I'm aware of. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
No.
Yeah, and this thing is showing off that it's more of a bestial like eat creature. Somewhere between a dragon and a hydra.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot of the dragon kit, like
Yeah.
Frightening Presence, which is like all dragons have that. I think maybe because it is more bestial. It's not like a dragon which like will come down roaring and intimidating. This thing like will ambush and predate on something.
Or be sleeping when you find it. Again, like if it's eaten something, as I said in the intro, if it's eaten something, it will be having a nap. That could be a great opportunity to get some sneak attacks on it when it's it's just eaten something. Leave out a big piece of prey for it, and then maybe wait for it to eat on one of those, and then
It's a fun encounter though, is sneaking around one of these creatures.
Yeah.
It gets that sleeping dragon vibe without putting a sleeping dragon there.
Which is a very big thing. Although it must be said, like, these things are still pretty strong. Like, challenging-wise. They are challenging 11.
Yeah.
Which is... Like, I think there are some, like, dragon variants that are less than that. Like, the young dragons and stuff, I don't know if they get to 11. This is not an easy creature to fight.
No.
Again, because of its... Not just because of its stats, just because, again, its kit is pretty good. Giving it the grab and the bite combo, and then anything with swallow like immediately like ramps up the difficulty and the potential for drama by a lot, because just like this thing could just bite you and then swallow you and then run off, and then that's probably someone dead. Because again, it's one of those ones where when you're inside it, you have to do a certain amount of damage to like get out.
Yeah.
So it's just like oof. There's
30 damage is what it says in the book, but no, that's gonna be quite tough to do if you're are you restrained when you're in there?
Probably blinded and restrained.
It's gonna be quite difficult.
Yeah.
I was looking up some stuff from older editions of D&D. Is what you?
Oh yeah.
Because you were letting me know that this thing has been since first, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a very old monster. It's been around for ages. One of the better bits of first edition art, I will say, but I just don't like the design very much. But it's a good bit of art. Anyway,
but I was looking around and there was some stuff written about possible uses for Behir items. Stuff you were very into.
Yes, I saw again. So like how the flail snail, you can make a shield out of its shell. There's the Behir has some. The example they say is like much how like you can make dragon scale armor in theory. You can do that with the Behir skin, and there was something more specific as well, wasn't there?
I said it. There was something in there that was like its blood makes excellent ink for spell scrolls.
Yeah, for lightning specific, like lightning spell scrolls, and that's a very cool. And that's from Advanced D&D, so second edition. Yeah, so that's again some really cool little flavory stuff.
We love that stuff.
We love that stuff, and like I think people really associate maybe not so much with like weak creatures, but when you get to like a big, strong creature, like a dragon or something similar to it. Then people want to use stuff from it to do stuff. And it's like, and like, selling it could be cool. Like, I think that's like the main obvious one is like dragon scales or like Behir scales sell for a lot. It's like, yeah, that's fine. But if you can make stuff out of it, then that's pretty cool too.
I think that's part of the design of D&D is that like a high level Death Knight or vampire will drop his gear, whereas a Behir or a dragon will drop its body.
Yeah, you don't loot a dragon, and you loot a dragon's hoard and get items, obviously, but a Behir, you loot its bones and get potentially some cool stuff.
You buried the dragon bones for more XP.
Sam, you got to prey on them with an altar.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it.
It does have 6 legs, which is pretty weird.
I think that's 12.
Oh no, it's got 6 pairs of legs. Pardon me, I misspoke, which is absurd. It's a lot of legs for me.
That's a lot of legs.
Very stumpy boy.
Boy, I guess that's why it's got so much speed. That's why its climb speed is 40 again.
Yeah.
A not well set up party to be climbing a mountain is going to find that very scary if it sort of descends down and has that much mobility and decision making. If it has the freedom of movement, it has the freedom to like control how that goes very well, I think.
Describing how this guy's move would be very fun.
Yeah, you need to think of some. Well, didn't you mention that to me that was they can slither like snakes if they like curl their legs up or something?
Yeah, they can lift their legs up and they can slither.
Yeah, it's really strange.
That's cool.
They don't look cool and scaly in the 5th edition art. They're just really like flabby and like got a lot of loose, stretchy skin around. It's just like they do look like monstrosities. They're very cool. They're good. It's a good design. But yeah, in terms of actual like uses vis-a-vis plot setting where you'd put them, I feel like you'd be doing them a disservice just to have them like in a mountain, to use them just as like a monster that's like hanging around, because they have so much cool lore vis-a-vis their interaction with dragons, then their association with giants. You could just use it because it's a cool monster with like, you know, unique ways of like playing it.
I actually really like it for a mountain encounter, just that there's a lair. Like, it would accentuate a session really well, you know, you're doing a much bigger quest, and then the Behir ambushes you or runs away to its lair. Or even better, what you're kind of describing, it's asleep in its lair after eating, and you guys wander in, and then you suddenly turn the lantern. And its eye opens.
An eye opens,
Exactly.
Or maybe it's just a choice of like, you think that maybe the depending on how it's described, you could be like, the party could be thinking, it's a dragon, if we kill it we get its hoard, nice. And it's like, oh well, it's not the same thing. But then they still get something, potentially, if you're bringing like some second edition stuff and using its body bits being valid. It's interesting enough as an enemy that you can use it, but I would personally be like, I want to make use of its lore, because again, we're not gospel to the lore, but I think when it's good, it's good. And
I think you could use it on its own. I think it'd be a different, because it's so, the way it moves mechanically would be so much different to like a kind of a lesser dragon in the same situation, that it would be a different fight. You could, because you'd have it like climbing around, like attacking people. It could like get out of range again. Like it could throw rocks at people, like big boulders.
Yeah, knock them down.
It could do all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
again, it has the intelligence.
If it was like there was a storm giant riding it, and like they were fighting a dragon, and then the party's got to pick a side, that could be quite fun.
Yeah.
And again, along the lines of what you were just saying, I think that using its giant lore and grandfathering it into a giant adventure, it's too good. It adds way more flavour than just fighting giant men.
Yeah, and again, there's like I feel like it's not the kind of lore where you like have to know loads and loads of books worth of stuff. It's just, you know, the giants and dragons had a war, and these were used in it as, I guess, fodder in some way. Or and then you can, with that, you can take that however you want. You can have it be more of the giants made this horrible aberration that's bad, or it could be like, you know, they were the giants and now they're loose and that's what's bad. They shouldn't be roaming around destroying stuff because they are just monsters.
They released them upon the world.
Yeah.
So that no dragon may find a place to rest or something like that. You know, that lore.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, or you again just keep it like that. They're more explicitly still around and some in giant service.
Yeah.
You could have it where, like, obviously, I mean, we'll talk about giants at a much later time.
Sure.
But storm giants they're chaotic, but they are good. So you could have it where, like, a giant like has died, and these were just left, and now they have like broken free from, like, you know, the kind of someone that could control them, and now there's like a couple of them or something, and now they're just going wild.
I think if you're going to use a war, like a dragon war, and you're not using like the official setting, the question becomes who won, and then what these things are doing around is based on who won. Because if dragons win, obviously you can have this thing like deep underground in hiding kind of thing, and if the giants won, maybe it's just around. Why not have a campaign set in the middle of that war? That could be awesome.
Yeah, that could be great.
And then you could have, you know, picking a side, because of course there are good dragons as well as
there's good and bad on both sides.
Yeah,
you could go around and you know go from place to place, do quests, you know, see what actions they have done, you know, see the consequences of them, and you got to make a choice.
Yeah.
And you could play a rune knight from like Unearthed Arcana.
Yeah. Specifically giant magic themed. Again, pretty cool stuff.
Or like a dragon sorcerer. Like, you could really get all the flavour. And it'd basically be its own Eberron is like set in this like the whole world. That would be great for a Bronze Age campaign.
Yeah. The humans are literally like using clubs and stuff. It's like, and then if you want to get like metal weapons, like maybe the dwarves are more advanced, and who knows who they're siding with. You maybe have to go and convince some elves or druids using wooden swords made out of ironwood and stuff.
That's a fun campaign, actually.
I like that idea.
Because again, you can just play it regular D&D, but the backdrop is that it's at the height of the war between these two things. So it doesn't really need to come up, but, you know, there may be Behirs in the mountains more often. Or, you know, the giants roam the land.
And again, like, depending on who you ally yourself with, the Behir can become someone that you speak to. It's like, maybe it's an encounter where you have to convince one that you are on its side, and it's like, oh, that's a weird one because it is a intimidating thing to come across, and it's like, okay, we don't want to fight this. Oh yeah, again,
Yeah.
They're not nice creatures.
It could be cool because I know that Matt Colville he came out of his Stronghold book where basically like you make a castle and then you can kind of populate it with retainers and also monsters and and all kinds of things. It could be very cool for if you do have a base. You could, instead of having the dragon in the lair or whatever, you could maybe even have a behir that you feed or something, because it's a large creature that's kind of really cool to look at.
Yeah,
and I think the players would quite enjoy the sense of something almost gargantuan on their side, and you don't have to make a dragon do it.
It's not giving the why don't we just fly on the dragon wherever we go kind of question, but it's giving them a lot of firepower and it's giving them a cool thing. For sure. If you
wanted to a quest line or to take a kind of really left field turn, say the party's searching for someone or an artifact or something, that person could just get eaten by it.
Yeah.
And then they're tracking them, and then the track stops, and then they end these tracks are near it. That can be just if you want to make use of the swallow thing, because it is kind of not too many creatures have it.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that there's definitely creatures that could swallow you whole because of their size, but there's only a few that decide to in the book.
It wouldn't be there'd be signs of battle. They'd just be walking, and then there wouldn't be because they've just been scooped up, and it's not like they've been torn apart or there's been a battle. They just got ate.
I really like the bit in the book where it's talking about how people mistake them for blue dragons and stuff, because I feel I don't know how you'd use this exactly, but the idea of trying to make the party think that they're tracking down or being pursued or near to the lair of a dragon, and then having it being something different, I think it's quite fun because I don't know. It's an easy twist that's it's still a monster. It's still something to fight, and it's still strong, but it's I don't know.
It's just rumours in the town.
Yeah. One of those things where people don't know what dragons look like, and dragons can vary from...
Yeah. It's how peasants won't know the difference between a chimera and a manticore. Also, I don't know the difference because I keep saying it wrong.
It's just that awful flying beast that keeps eating my sheep.
That's got some lines going on, and it's awful.
Is it a wyvern, a behir, or a dragon?
Yeah, which one of these things is it? And then the question is, what is it? Maybe you've been tasked to find... Maybe the whole quest... It becomes a children's book. Where's my cow? Except you're looking... You got to find a dragon horn to cure the village elder of his disease, and you're looking for dragons everywhere, and you keep finding the slightly wrong monster.
Hydras and behir.
The bloody hydra, behir, wyverns. Oh, Jesus Christ. A half-dragon man, is that good enough? No. Oh. That could be quite funny. That'd be a high-level children's book campaign.
That's a really difficult, one small favour kind of quest. Where you keep from place to place.
I think that'd be quite funny. Yeah,
I think that we would be reticent to maybe talk about some of the downsides of the behir.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Sure.
It constricts swallows and breath weapons, which makes it out of a lot of monsters, it has a lot of kit.
Yeah. There's a lot there. There's a lot going on.
But it bites, and then it tries to grab you, and then next turn it's gonna bite and try and grab you.
Yeah, I feel the lightning is gonna be kind of difficult to use in that kind of... Again, any line ability is more difficult to use practically.
It's gonna be very much how, what we've talked about, how you deploy it. If you deploy one of these as just a monster, short of being really descriptive with its legs and how it moves, and maybe having a really good mini or token, then it's going to be quite forgettable. Yeah,
quite potentially. Yeah, I can see that. It is cool, but it's just kind of all the big monster things in one.
Yeah, but it is a great one. That's maybe that's playing super devil's advocate. I don't really even agree with that.
Right,
but I could see people giving that argument because
I can definitely imagine it not... It's not one of those ones that, because it's a more obscure monster, you have to make it more memorable.
Sure.
Because people aren't going to... They're not going to associate the name with a strong memory. Whereas you go, do you remember the time we fought a beholder? Because, that's the beholder. it doesn't matter if they just had a beholder in a room. They're going to remember it because it was that unique, famous monster. Whereas the Behir is like, it's got a lot of cool stuff that, you know, in a way it's got more stuff than like the Tarrasque because it's got a breath attack and all this, you know, other than its stats obviously, but because it's not something famous, I think you do have to put the work in to make it memorable.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I get what you're saying, Neil, and like we're saying that but also not agreeing with it. I think that we have talked about it a couple times, but like if there was a monster where like someone got swallowed and then everyone had to chase it down, that would be a like memorable encounter.
Definitely.
Apart from the person who got swallowed, who'd hate it. It'd be the worst game of their life.
That's true.
But sometimes that happens in D&D. Sometimes someone has to be the guy who gets swallowed. I don't necessarily agree with that.
It's very dramatic.
I think depending on who it is, I personally wouldn't mind, but I can imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine some people getting very annoyed about that.
Yeah.
That's true. Like maybe it's worth bringing up. Like, you know, if you're going to use it and it's going to make that attack, like
being aware of the consequences of strong monsters, I think, is always worth pointing out for DMs.
Like some people. I mean, D&D is like. I mean, this is like D&D. There's kind of a complicit agreement that like death is part of the game.
Yeah.
But like maybe, but by the time you're fighting this, players should realize that like even though you're very strong, like
there's strong things that can just get.
You're going to be fighting really strong things that you might just get got. Like,
yeah.
I would argue, like, in a campaign, like, if you're, like, level 1, 2, and 3 and you die, that's
the DM's fault.
That's DM's fault, basically. Yeah. But when you're, like, level, 10, 12, like, getting up there, like, you kind of got, that's the game. Like, but certain people would,
I think that
DMs, you should know what your players are like, and just...
To take your advice to its next conclusion, in a nice way, choose who it's grabbing.
Yeah.
Also a fair point. You know your players. You know the one who's going to be okay with getting grabbed and who's going to like make jokes and if they do die, is going to like laugh at that.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be annoyed, but they will be able to laugh at it as well.
Because it shouldn't really be the DM's job for that. Because again, it's all like a collective bargain.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's like you can throw a monster at it and not know how your players are going to deal with it. Like, that's okay. Like, this encounter is the thing arrives and it's going to grab someone and run away. That's okay. You don't have to, like, I'm going to give them a ring of fly so they can chase up. You don't have to do that. It's really fun to have them try and figure out what the heck they're going to do.
Sure, yeah.
But maybe just, if you know somebody's going to get annoyed at it, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
It is after all the DM. You are trying to make sure people enjoy themselves at least a little bit. That's part of it is a game.
I don't know why we started talking about those with Behir.
No, I don't know. It's just because Swallow is an ability that's cool. It's really cool, but it's also intrinsically annoying.
By the time they're fighting this, they can revive.
That's also true as well.
Like,
Anyway.
Should we give a number?
I don't know. I quite like it. I think having so much kit, it's almost too much. But it's not like giving it spellcasting. Having like a recharge thing. The way I would use like the breath, I would use it like once in the encounter. I know it's on a recharge, but I would just do it the once, and then it would maybe
like a legendary action. Almost.
Maybe it'd be like it either opens up with it or uses it, and then like grabs and runs away with someone, something like that. So I think that'd be like an easy way to run it.
Because that was something I literally just thought about while we were talking, like while you brought that up. This thing has no condition immunities. Okay. So it's going to be, it can be charmed, it can be...
Held monster or whatever.
Yeah, it can be...
stunned.
It can be affected by a lot of... It can be frightened.
There you go,
It's not immune to a lot of these effects that like dragons and other powerful big monsters are.
Sure, yeah.
So that would definitely be a weakness of kind of using it as a boss monster.
And
they could end up just like CCing it into the ground, so it's not really a threat.
Sure, yeah.
So it goes to more what we were saying, that it's a very good encounter.
Really good encounter. I would not have it as the end of a dungeon. I would have it as a tough enemy. Again, you wouldn't
tough midpoint fight.
Yeah. One that makes them go, maybe we should take a rest now. We've beaten this hurdle. But yeah, I would say I probably wouldn't go much above like a 13. But I do like its kit, and I do like that. I kind of like the fact that it has those weaknesses makes it a worse boss monster, but I think it makes it a more interesting monster because there's a lot of big stuff that just is immune to a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, it's like everything.
And so having a big monster that they can use their cool spells on will make them be like, yeah, I'm awesome.
I did the thing.
I've paralyzed this fool.
Look at me, Ma.
look at me, man. Look at me.
But also it leads to the fighter using his battle maneuver to fear the Behir.
Yeah, but when you're like a level 11 dude, yeah.
That's true. I agree.
So
That's awesome.
I feel like a 13 is pretty okay from me. I think it's fun.
You know what? I might go 14.
Yeah,
Because I think when we were doing other gargantuan creatures, and this isn't gargantuan.
Yeah, this is.
I think a lot of our
huge...
other ones fell into that 14 range. And if I think about this to a lot of the actual kaiju monsters we did, I prefer this a lot.
Yeah.
That's actually a really fair point. I would never reach to use the Leviathan.
Yeah.
Even if it was it would maybe be like in a set piece in like a appropriate campaign, but I wouldn't just like, oh, this would be an awesome place to put it. But like a Behir is much more flexible, I think, in terms of uses.
Yeah, I kind of like, again, what we're talking about, I really want to use one now. Like,
I can see a 14. I could be persuaded to go up to 14.
I'm happy to go there.
Yeah,
as well.
let's call it 14.
Yeah.
If you've got some players who've played the game for a little while and think they know a lot of monsters, chances are they won't know a Behir because I don't think it's that. Like, it's more obscure, which is a cool.
A more experienced player would appreciate a different
like,
monster.
Oh,
yeah,
nice,
definitely.
A Behir, cool. I have fought goblins before, but a Behir I have no.
That character you were just talking about, I fought goblins before. I think that might be Norman a little bit. Maybe he is out to see every monster. Like...
Yeah, we were having a chat about. We're not sure what Norman's motivation is as a character, but he's definitely on a quest of some sort that involves seeing every monster. That seems, and only once. I've seen that before.
It's like a good hot chocolate. You only need one.
I need not see it again.
Not again. I do not think that's his voice. He's not Wesker, no.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yes, it came together quite quickly. I'm actually pretty happy with it.
Norman is like one wrong move away from being atomic breathed right there.
Yeah, he's gonna. Yeah, I think what happens next is I think Norman gets away. I think he sneaks away from this one. Flying sword runs some distraction. He sneaks away. I think he's gonna. He's heading away from Ton-Upon-Henge towards the mountain which is where the tracks are coming from this warpath. He's investigating towards the mountain. And that's where we'll find him next week, I think. On the path up. Beginning
to climb.
Yeah. But I enjoyed this one. It's good fun. The Behir is a cool fella.
The Behir is a cool creature that I never knew about before this episode. Even though it's right there in the box manual.
Again, same.
Looked over it so many times. Yeah.
When we first started doing it, I was like, what the hell is that? I've never heard of it.
It's one of those monsters I know just because of when I was bored one day, I sat and read like the monster manual cover to cover, just reading the lore.
But like, I must have done that when I first got it. I must have looked through it. I must have... But I don't even remember looking at the art. I didn't recognise it.
It's like how you'd read a game manual on the way back.
We found a bunch of old... When we were clearing stuff out, we found a bunch of old game manuals, and I was like, oh man.
Gen Zers won't understand that feeling.
Gen Zs won't understand game manuals that weren't just like
a single sheet.
The game.
Yeah, with like the controls in it. It actually had like lore in it.
And sometimes they have like a message from the developers.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's completely irrelevant to this. I apologise.
Oh, look at this here. I can see the power wattage of a ghost's plasma cannon.
So important.
That was so good, wasn't it? Yeah. And you got the Halo 1. The Halo 1 manual was so good. I read it so many times. Sorry. Anyway, carry on. You can cut this.
Yeah. Also, Norman will know. Something we all know. This is a weird brand on the side of this bit here. That's weird.
It's a little bit different, isn't it?
It's a bit different. It's got a big tattoo of some sort.
It's got a Power Ranger logo on it.
It's got a Power Ranger logo, or the Smite logo, or various other things. Gatorade, I think.
Gatorade has a lightning bolt, yeah. It does.
Lightning-y bolty.
Yeah.
Maybe it's sponsored. It's a sponsored bit here.
Backwards horns are great. You did a good job of those.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I really liked the 5th edition art is like I think it's one of the biggest like diversions from the traditional design that they've gone for. Because again, the traditional design is very boring. This is basically just a drawing of the 5th edition Behir, but like a bit more electric eel, a little bit mixed in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like these sort of weird like horns that are like not really coming out of its head but coming out of its neck, and the eye being like down the snout further. So it
looks like
it makes them yeah, exactly, like they're properly distinct from dragons, but still like they're clearly dragon-esque.
You can see where it yeah.
Exactly.
The other ones are more like drakes that have been edited.
Yeah, they're just like the 3rd edition one is just like it's just a dragon, but it looks so goofy because it just is a generic dragon head.
It's got too many legs drawn on it.
Yeah, it's like with too many legs. It looks like it looks like if you described a Chinese dragon to someone who's only ever drawn like fan art of Smaug from the Hobbit. That's what it looked like.
How many legs? Where am I going to put all these legs?
I guess it'll be like a centipede. Anyway.
Why can't I hold all these legs?
Why can't I hold all these legs? Anyway.
That's an old meme for...
Classic, I love that one.
Anyway, sorry.
I love that guy. Can't hold these lemons guy.
Can't all these limes.
Yeah. But you know what else you know what else be here? Excellent jokes and other vids of D&D. So you should subscribe to see them here and all that.
That's very good. Well done, mate.
Thank you.
I really do think that you should leg it over to the comment section and leave a comment.
Oh, that was good.
That was really good.
I like that one.
Yeah. Oh God.
Sometimes I get it all right, you know.
No, that was new season, new jokes.
New season.
I should hope.
New season, new Neil.
Yeah.
What the hell can a Behir do about likes?
Sam, I'll feed one to you. Lightning breath.
That's exactly what I had. That is exactly what I had.
You know what?
But just saying lightning breath is not a joke. It's just a similar sound.
Me and Theo go quiet, and then Sam, you deliver it perfectly crisp, and it will sound like it was your idea.
You could also
lightning breath.
Oh no.